Wealthy alien heiress disguises as beggar to discover true kindness only a human shocked her. HFY, the alien heiress, was born in a palace of glass towers and crystal floors. Her father ruled the Andrala's empire, one of the richest and most feared dynasties in the galaxy. Every day, nobles and generals bowed before her, offering gifts of jewels, starships, and whole planets. Yet behind her silver crown and silk robes, she felt something missing. Her world was filled with false smiles and empty words. No one spoke to her without an angle. No one looked at her without seeing wealth. Was kindness only bought with power? Or did it still exist out there, in the world of ordinary people? One night she made a dangerous choice. She left the palace in secret, wearing only tattered rags. A disguise wrapped her glowing crest so no one could see her true bloodline. For the first time, she walked alone through the busy trade city of Yorvak, where aliens and humans mingled in crowded streets. The stench of oil, smoke, and sweat filled her lungs. She reached out to strangers, asking softly for food or water. Many turned away. Some shoved her aside. Others laughed, calling her useless. Hours passed. Her stomach twisted with hunger. For the first time in her life, no servant came running with trays of food. She slept on cold stone, rats scurrying near her head. Doubt gnawed at her heart. Perhaps kindness was truly extinct. The next day, she stumbled through the marketplace. Vendors shouted prices, selling glowing fruits and humming devices. She begged again, but no one cared. Then, from behind a rusty stall, a voice spoke. "Here," it said. She turned. A human stood there. His face was lined with scars, his eyes weary yet calm. He wore a patched jacket, boots caked with dust. In his hand he held a piece of bread, rough and half-eaten. Without hesitation, he tore it and held out half to her. She froze. "Why?" she whispered. He shrugged. "Because you look hungrier than me." Tears burned her eyes as she accepted the bread. It was stale, but to her, it tasted like the finest meal in the galaxy. She studied the man in silence. He had nothing, yet gave what little he owned. Something about him shook her. But before she could speak again, the world shattered. A fiery explosion ripped through the market. The ground split and stalls flew into the air. Flames roared, devouring everything in seconds. Screams filled the air as smoke blinded the streets. Rebels had planted a bomb. The heiress was thrown against a wall, her body bruised. Fire raged around her. Debris rained from above. A beam of metal crashed, pinning her legs. She cried out helpless, the disguise cracking but not yet broken. Through the smoke, she saw the human man. He could have run, could have saved himself. Instead, he turned back. His face burned with determination as he fought through fire, lifting the heavy beam with bleeding hands. "Come on," he shouted, dragging her free. He hoisted her on his back, coughing through the smoke, and carried her through collapsing stalls. Buildings crashed, sparks flying as they stumbled toward safety. Flames licked his arms. His jacket burned. Still, he did not stop. At last, he pushed through into the open square. Survivors screamed, running in every direction. Alien soldiers flooded in, their armor shining, weapons raised. The commander shouted, "Humans planted this bomb. Arrest them all." The heiress gasped. The soldiers would kill every human in sight. She looked at the man who had saved her, blood running down his arms. If she stayed silent, he would be executed. If she spoke, her true identity would be revealed. The commander raised his weapon toward the human. "On your knees, traitor." The human clenched his jaw, ready to face death. Her heart pounded. She could not let him die. The disguise on her crest flickered and broke, revealing the glowing mark of royalty on her forehead. Gasps erupted across the square. Soldiers dropped to their knees. She's the heiress." One shouted. The human stared at her, stunned. He had saved a beggar, not knowing she was the Empire's only daughter. The commander lowered his weapon, bowing deeply. "Forgive me, Your Highness. We will execute the human at once for touching you." Her blood ran cold. She stepped forward, her voice trembling but strong. "No," He is under my protection." The soldiers froze. Whispers spread like fire. The commander narrowed his eyes. "But my lady, he is human. Our enemy. They seek to destroy us." She lifted her chin. "He risked his life for mine. When your soldiers were not here, when flames threatened to kill me, he alone saved me. If he is enemy, then perhaps we fight the wrong war." The commander's face darkened. "Careful, princess. You speak treason," her heart thundered. Around them, the city still burned. The smell of ash and blood filled the air. She stood between the human and the soldiers, her hands trembling but firm. Then, from the distance, more explosions shook the sky. War horns blared. Alien dropships descended, disgorging armored troops. A new attack was beginning rebels against the Empire. Plasma fire streaked across the square, forcing soldiers to scatter. Civilians screamed as chaos returned. The heiress grabbed the human's arm. "We have to run," he hesitated. You're royalty. And you are the only one I trust," she said, pulling him with her. Together, they vanished into the smoke as war erupted around them. But behind them, the commander's voice echoed through the flames. "Find her. She has betrayed her empire. Bring me the human's head." Story ends in fire. The heiress and the human disappearing into the ruins, hunted not only by the rebels but by her own soldiers. And in that silence, one truth burned brighter than the flames. Her life had changed forever, and the fate of both aliens and humans would now rest on the kindness of a single man. The alien heiress had never known the sound of hunger. In the palace of the Andrala's empire, she lived surrounded by crystal walls and golden light. Every need was answered before she spoke. Yet deep inside, she carried a quiet question that no treasure could silence. Did kindness exist beyond the reach of wealth? Or was every smile in the universe only for power? Her father, the emperor, ruled with fear. Generals boasted of victories. Merchants offered her jewels, but their words were hollow. No one looked at her without seeing the crown. So one night, cloaked in rags, she left. A colony torn between alien rule and human rebellion. The streets were filled with neon lights and shadows. Smoke rose from chimneys of broken factories. Rusted machines hummed, and starving children fought over scraps. She begged quietly at corners. Some aliens spat at her. Others shoved her aside. The humans, weary and thin, walked past without glancing. Hours became days. She slept on stone, her body shaking from cold. Doubt filled her mind. Perhaps kindness truly did not exist. Then, one night, alarms screamed. Sirens howled through the city. The ground shook. She stumbled into the open square, her disguise filthy and torn. Above, alien warships streaked across the skies. An air raid had begun. Bombs rained down. Buildings exploded, fire consuming the streets. Dust choked her lungs as she fell to her knees. The world turned red with flame. Through the chaos, a human soldier appeared. His uniform was torn, his weapon burned, but his eyes were sharp with determination. He saw her lying in the rubble. Without hesitation, he grabbed her arm. "Move," he shouted. She stared at him, stunned. "Why?" "Because you'll die here," he snapped. Pulling her up, he dragged her through collapsing alleys as towers crumbled behind them. Explosions roared, firestorms chased their heels. Twice, falling debris nearly crushed them, and each time he shielded her with his own body. At last, pushed her through a hidden hatch in the street. The door slammed and they tumbled into darkness. The air smelled of rust and earth. A flickering light revealed a long tunnel. The soldier wiped dust from his face. Safe, for now. She coughed. "What is this place?" "Old rebel tunnels," he said. "You shouldn't be out there. Civilians are being slaughtered." Her heart pounded. "Why? Why did you save me?" He looked at her, puzzled. "Do I need a reason?" "You needed help." She fell silent. The answer shook her. For the first time, someone had acted with no reward, no recognition. Just simple, dangerous kindness. As they walked, she learned the truth of the tunnels. They were used by the human resistance. fighters who struggled not for power, but for survival. The Empire saw them as terrorists, but she saw hunger, desperation, and courage. Suddenly, a thunderous crash echoed. Metal claws tore through the ceiling. Alien drones broke in, their red eyes glowing. Plasma bolts lit the tunnel. The soldier pushed her down, firing his rifle. The drones swarmed, their weapons slicing the air. He fought with everything he had, but one drone's blast struck his side. He cried out, falling to his knees. She screamed, rushing to him. Blood spilled onto the dirt. The soldiers still aimed, firing one last shot, destroying the final drone. Then he collapsed, his chest rising weakly. Tears streamed down her face. He had saved her again, even as his life slipped away. She placed her hand on his wound, whispering, "Why? You don't even know me." His lips moved faintly. "Doesn't matter, you're alive." Her disguise flickered, unable to hold. The glowing crest on her forehead revealed itself. Gasps echoed as surviving humans stared in shock. "The Heiress," one whispered. The wounded soldier's eyes widened. The girl he thought was a beggar was in truth the heir of the Empire that hunted his people. Before she could speak, footsteps thundered. Alien soldiers stormed the tunnel, their armor shining, weapons raised. At their head was a tall figure with cruel eyes, her cousin, Commander Kale. Well, Kale sneered. The lost heiress, crawling in the dirt with humans. She stood, shielding the soldier with her body. "Cousin, call them off. He saved me. He is not the enemy." Kale's smile was cold. "Not the enemy? He is human. Their kind burns our cities, plants bombs in our streets, and you, the heir of the Empire. Defend him." The soldiers raised their rifles, aiming at the wounded man. "Stop," she cried. "If you kill him, you defy me." Kale stepped closer, his voice low. "No, little cousin. You defy the Empire. You have breathed their poison. You have forgotten who you are." The soldiers hesitated, torn between loyalty to the heiress and fear of their commander. The tunnel shook with another explosion above. Dust rained down. War raged on the surface. Screams of humans and the roars of alien weapons echoing below. She spread her arms wide, trembling but firm. "If you fire, you'll kill me too. Is that what you want? To murder the blood of your emperor?" Kale's eyes burned. His hand tightened on his blade. The wounded soldier coughed, whispering to her, "Run. Save yourself." She shook her head. "No, I will not abandon you." The commander raised his hand, giving the signal. Soldiers prepared to strike. At that instant, a massive explosion tore through the tunnel wall. Fire and smoke blinded them. Rebel fighters stormed in, guns blazing, shouting battle cries. Plasma bolts cut through the air as war erupted underground. Amid the chaos, Kale vanished into the smoke, his laughter echoing. "You will regret this, cousin. You will burn with them." She grabbed the soldier's hand, pulling him through the chaos. Bullets hissed past. Rebels and Empire soldiers clashed in fire and blood. The tunnels shook like a dying beast, her heart raced. She had been a princess yesterday, a beggar last night, and now she stood between two wars. One choice could destroy her empire. The other could doom humanity. At last they reached a hidden exit, bursting into the night. The city above was an inferno, ships burning, towers falling, sky torn by fire. The human soldier collapsed beside her, barely breathing. She held him, tears cutting through soot on her face. Behind them, the battle roared closer. Soldiers would soon follow. She looked up at the burning sky, her chest heaving. Her cousin would hunt her. Her empire would call her traitor. Yet if she stayed silent, the humans would be slaughtered. The story ends with her trembling hand clutching the soldiers, her voice whispering into the fire-filled night. "I will choose. And when I do, the galaxy will never be the same." The alien heiress lived in a palace where every wall gleamed with silver light and every corridor echoed with the sound of servants' footsteps. Her days were filled with feasts, gowns spun from starlight, and suitors who bowed low. each one dreaming of her hand and her father's empire. Yet behind her jeweled crown, her heart ached. She had never known hunger. She had never known need. But most of all, she had never known truth. Whenever she walked the palace halls, every smile she saw was purchased. Every word spoken to her was false, dripping with flattery or fear. Did kindness truly exist in the galaxy? Or was it nothing but a trick of power and wealth? The question haunted her until one restless night she made a bold choice. She cloaked herself in rags and stripped away the glowing crest on her forehead with a disguise device. She would live among the poor, walk their streets, and learn if kindness survived when power was gone. Her journey took her to the human quarter of Orvac City, a place where aliens and humans lived side by side under the shadow of Empire rule. The streets were cracked, lights flickered, and smoke curled from broken pipes. She begged for food, but aliens sneered. Some shoved her away, laughing at her torn clothes. Humans, wary and bitter, passed without a glance. Days passed in misery. She slept on hard stone. Her stomach growled in pain. The world was cruel, and her heart began to believe that kindness was dead. Then one night, as she sat shivering beneath a broken bridge, a shadow fell across her. A human man stood there, his clothes darkened with grease, his hands stained with oil. He was a mechanic, his face worn from long hours of labor. "You'll freeze out here," he said quietly. She looked up, frightened. "I have nowhere to go." He hesitated, then extended a hand. "Come, you can stay in my workshop. It isn't much, but it's warm." Cautiously, she followed him. His workshop was small, filled with broken machines and scattered tools. He gave her a blanket and placed food in front of her: bread, cheese, and warm broth. It was the first real meal she had eaten in days. She whispered, "Why are you helping me?" The mechanic shrugged. "Because you need help, and no one else seems to care." Her chest tightened. His words were simple, but they burned brighter than jewels. For the first time, she felt truth, but before dawn, the world shattered. The city shook with thunder. Sirens wailed. A bomb detonated in the distance, followed by another, closer this time. The sky lit with orange fire as towers collapsed into rubble. Windows shattered, glass raining down like knives. The mechanic grabbed her arm. "Stay low." She stumbled after him as another blast tore through the street, throwing them to the ground. Alien terrorists had launched a full-scale assault. Firestorms spread, devouring homes. Alien warships descended from the skies, unleashing plasma bolts that turned buildings into ash. Panic swept the city as civilians screamed and fled. The Heiress coughed, her lungs filled with smoke. A falling beam nearly crushed her, but the mechanic shoved her aside, taking the blow across his shoulder. He groaned in pain, but kept moving. "Come on," he shouted, pulling her through collapsing streets. Together, they ran as explosions rocked the ground. Bridges crumbled. Drones swooped down, firing on fleeing crowds. The mechanic dragged her into alleys, shielding her with his body whenever fire rained too close. At last, they reached the edge of the district. A massive wall loomed, guarded by alien soldiers. Refugees rushed forward, begging for help, but the soldiers blocked the way. Humans planted these bombs. The commander barked. "No human passes." The Heiress froze. The mechanic, still holding her hand, was human. He would be executed if they discovered him. The commander's eyes swept the crowd, then fixed on her. Even in rags, her presence stood out, her posture too proud, her eyes too bright. Suspicion flared. "Step forward," the commander ordered. She trembled. If she refused, the mechanic would die with the others. If she obeyed, her disguise might break. Suddenly a plasma blast struck nearby, tearing open the wall. Dust and screams filled the air. The disguise device on her crest cracked, flickering. And then, with a flash of light, her true mark appeared, the glowing sigil of the royal bloodline. The soldiers gasped and fell to their knees. "The Heiress," one shouted. The mechanic stared in shock. The girl he had saved, the beggar he had sheltered, was in truth the future ruler of the Empire. The commander bowed low, his voice sharp with fear and loyalty. "Your Highness, forgive us. We did not know you were here. Her lips trembled. Release the humans. Let them pass. They are innocent. The commander's eyes narrowed. But my lady, they are dangerous. This attack is their doing. And this man? He pointed to the mechanic. He is with them. He touched you. Deceived you. He must die. Her heart thundered. She stepped between the mechanic and the soldiers, her arms wide. No. He saved my life. Twice. He is no enemy. The soldiers hesitated, unsure. But the commander's face hardened. You speak as if you are one of them, he said coldly. This is treason, Heiress. Before she could reply, the night sky erupted again. Alien warships clashed with human fighters above the city. Plasma fire streaked across the stars. On the ground, alien troops and human rebels stormed the burning streets. Colliding in a storm of war, the commander barked an order. Take the Heiress to safety. Kill the human. Soldiers raised their rifles. The mechanic stood tall, refusing to kneel. His eyes met hers. Run, he whispered. Don't fight for me. Save yourself. Tears burned her eyes. She shook her head fiercely. I will not abandon you. The soldiers aimed. The commander raised his hand to give the final command, and then the gates exploded. Rebel fighters stormed in, guns blazing. Smoke and fire filled the night as chaos swallowed the square. In the confusion, she grabbed the mechanic's hand. Together, they fled into the flames, the roar of war chasing their steps. Behind them, the commander's voice rose above the battle. Find her. Bring me the traitor alive. And bring me the human's head. The Heiress and the mechanic disappeared into the ruins, hunted by both sides, and as the city burned around them, she realized her life had been forever changed. She was no longer just an heiress. She was a fugitive caught between empire and rebellion, between loyalty and love. Her trembling hand gripped the mechanic's as the world collapsed in fire. One choice could save him. Another could doom humanity. The story ends in smoke and silence, her voice whispering, when the fire clears, I will choose. And nothing in this galaxy will ever be the same again.